Hello and welcome to the TwoFiveOh, the podcast where it's a nice night for a walk. I'm Jonathan, and with me as always is my co-host Douglas. How are you, Douglas?
Possible response. Fine. Yes. No. Doing well. Please come back later. Fuck you, asshole. Fuck you, asshole.
if this is your... Jesus Christ. If this is your first time tuning into TwoFiveOh, we've taken a snapshot of IMDb's top 250 movies of all time as of January 2020, and we've begun watching them from number 250 all the way through to number 1. In this podcast, we discuss our opinions, thoughts, and reactions to the movies within. Today's movie is number 243, The Terminator.
Sarah Connor is living a quiet life as a waitress when she is attacked by a cyborg killer sent through time from the dystopian future. Assisted by a soldier from that same future, she must survive at all costs.
Terminator is written and directed by James Cameron, as well as written by Gail Ann Hurd. And this was kind of the film that put him on the map, I think.
Yeah, this is one of James Cameron's early works.
Yeah.
Well, is it his first work? No, surely not.
No.
No way.
But the Terminator...
But this is the one that put him on the map in Hollywood.
Oh, shit. I think it's... No, hold on. Oh, no. Okay, writing credits, director. It is...
He did Piranha 2, The Spawning.
One.
What the hell is that?
Yeah, and Exogenesis, which is a short, doesn't count.
Oh, God, it's got a 15 on...
Oh, this is like, there's films where it's like technically a horror film, but it's just got lots of like titties in it and stuff.
Oh, super like B movie. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
The budget was $145,000. Hell yes. Oh, I kind of want to watch that. All right. Anyway, yes, continue.
Yeah, put that on the snubs. That's what we need to see on the top 250. How'd you like Terminator, Douglas?
Hot take.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think it does what it needs to do, and it kind of gets the hell out. It really sets up the Terminator as a franchise very well, even though I'm sure it was probably unintendedly setting itself up for a franchise. It kind of lays out a lot of things on the table that then there is more room for, I don't know, exploration within that universe. But just, I don't know, there are moments where it really hits me and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But then there are a lot of moments where I'm like, well, okay.
I think it's got a lot of value as it's world building. I like a lot. It's kind of something you take for granted. What with like 6 or 7 fucking Terminator sequels we now have.
Yeah.
But back in '84, like this concept of the modern day intersecting with this like crazy dystopian future, like 40 years in the future. That's like super neat. Yeah, now it's kind of tough to do all this stuff because this is a problem with all the older films. But I think that's just a really slick, straightforward kind of concept.
So it was
very interesting.
It was creative for the time, right? Like it was.
Yeah.
Most movies weren't dealing with dystopian future, someone going back in time, robots, yada yada. That was a thing that was common in the 80s.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Question mark.
It's also it's kind of tough. I was talking about this before we started recording, that it's hard to look at the Terminator completely separate from the new ones, which are these crazy, stupid, insane sci-fi action flicks. My first Terminator film was Salvation.
Okay.
Bit of a different film to this one, because that one's set entirely in the future, and it's like just all about like warfare and stuff.
Right.
Whereas this film has a lot of very cool elements to it.
I mean, for me, this was just a slasher film.
Yeah.
Like, this is literally a sci-fi slasher film. For those unaware, a slasher film is like a subgenre of horror films, where it's basically, it revolves around a murderer just killing a group of people, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
Normally with like a bladed tool or something like that. So, I don't know.
Hence the term.
Slasher. Stuff that comes to mind, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, Friday 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. that kind of jazz. It was same time as well. Terminator's 1984. I know for a fact that Nightmare on Elm Street is also 1984. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was 10 years prior, 1974. So it's, for me, it really had that vibe of this unstoppable, unrelenting killer just coming after this one person.
It is very... It's a cool way to frame it, where you have a lot of those slasher films it's just a guy. It's just a crazy dude. Like, a lot of them are like really big, but this dude's a fucking... He gets hit by a truck.
Yeah, he's a goddamn tank.
You know, they just fill him full of like shotgun shots, and he's just, I'm just gonna have a nap for 15 seconds and then get up again.
Yeah.
Like that's very... It is very much still reminiscent of a slasher film, but what slasher films have action like this, you know?
Yes,
have very intriguing kind of backstory.
There's more of a focus on the action than there would be in a slasher film, most definitely. But there were just moments in there where I was like, whoa, this feels a bit Halloween-y.
It's quite cool in terms of just special effects and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Practical effects were crazy. Like, there are bits where you're like, wow, well, that's a fucking cardboard box or whatever, but it's obviously, you know, with the eye that we have now, how we have that, we've seen so much CGI and stuff now, and we've got that different context in our current climate of film. It's much easier to pick up the things that are bullshit, but I feel like probably even back then, it probably would have been easy to go, yeah, that's bullshit, but it doesn't detract from the film in any way for me. I actually was like, wow, that's actually a genuinely clever way of doing something in that time period.
It's tough because I don't want to
go into in depth without going spoilers.
No, just giving like a film going like, oh, it doesn't really hold up now, but it was good then.
It seems disingenuous, doesn't it?
Seems dismissive or whatever, but you know, there's bits that hold up pretty well, and I don't want to think about it too much.
There are bits that do good, and there are bits that like are kind of like, well, that's how I kind of feel about this movie, for sure.
But still very enjoyable.
Absolutely.
Good time.
Good romp. Arnie doing his best.
This kind of got him on the map.
Well, quote unquote, he does his best in... sorry, not quote unquote. Allegedly, he does his best in Terminator 2.
Right.
This is my first Terminator film, I should also say.
That's right. He was doing Conan's before.
Correct. James Cameron picked him up in Conan and went, "Ooh, you're all right." And then
they actually pushed the Terminator back because he was still filming for the second Conan film, I believe.
They really wanted Arnie,
which like it was a good choice.
Absolutely.
I assume that you have a lot of trivia about the casting and stuff because I have a bunch of it.
Yeah. If I don't, you can fill in the gaps.
Yeah. But it's quite interesting how it all kind of came together. Before this, Arnie had always been in your kind of regular like hero roles. And he's very much not that in this one.
Yeah.
So but it works. It works really well. He's kind of a funny shaped man.
Yeah. He's got some odd proportions, doesn't he?
That shot. I don't think it's a spoiler. That shot right at the start where he's standing up on the observatory or whatever, and his just shoulders are just like his torso is like a diamond shape.
Yeah. The first note I wrote down in my notebook is "Holy Mother of Pecs and Ass." Just wow.
Yep. I have Arnold's fucking shoulders is number 5. It was it's really really cool. I did have a lot of stuff to pick out of it, and I think that's kind of just a bit of an unfortunate effect of it being a film that's heavily reliant on special effects, and that is a bit old. We didn't have this problem with like Paris, Texas or whatever because there's no special effects in it really.
It's not a film that relies on its special effects. Well, not to say that this film does rely on its special effects to be good, but there is an element of special effects that relate to the story.
Well, would you recommend our viewers watch this film?
Well, yeah, as I said, this is my first Terminator film, and I was completely under the preconception that the Terminator was the good guy, so imagine my surprise when I come into this film. And just start seeing Arnie going fucking ham.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, I had a good romp with this film. It's not... I would probably have liked to have seen something else in its place in the 250.
Four out of 5 stars. Rent don't buy.
Yeah, probably a nice 4. If I were to give it a grading, we don't normally do gradings here on the 250, but
We're both incapable of counting to 5.
yeah.
So yeah, that's why we have a binary system, because I do know the difference between 0 and 1.
yeah. What about you?
good or
What
bad,
about
Nick?
you, Jonathan?
I think I'm about the same. It is still a very fun film, especially if you're going to watch Terminator 2. I assume it's worth
Obviously,
punching this one out first.
checking out where it all started.
Yeah,
But we're not going to get to Terminator 2 for a fucking while, man.
No, we're not.
Terminator 2 is number 38. So fucking stay tuned 2 years later for when we watch the sequel.
Yikes. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I still think it was kind of fun. It has its issues, but you know what? There are worse films out there.
Absolutely.
Spoiler time. If you listen past this point without watching the film, I will go to your house and put treats into your backyard and befriend your dog over a long period of time. And then I'm going to take your dog and it can live with me. And then I have your dog.
Play the horns.
Spoiler time.
Yeah. Let's go.
I think the thing that... We'll just go straight back to the special effects. There's so much stuff with, like, the opening shot has stop motion in it with the I forgot what the helicopters are called. That was my first
Note.
kind of thing that I picked out.
Oh, right.
But it's just those little things that kind of stick out, and you don't really notice a lot of the other much more competently done special effects. So, like, do you remember that first scene where there's like all the skulls on the ground and then like the tank treads
rolls over
like drive
it.
over
Yeah.
it? Those are all minis except for like 1 or 2 skulls in the foreground, and
Wow.
you can't really pick
Yeah,
that.
that's fucking really good then. I thought that was, proper size.
The stuff that really sticks out is always it's just the stop motion and the rubber prosthetics, of which there are a couple. There's the
Yes, yeah.
how'd you feel about the rubber
Arnie.
Terminator head?
Oh, God. The first time it hit me, when he's in the mirror and he's fucking with his eye, and it just...
I mean, fuck that scene, by the
yeah,
way.
absolutely. But then it snaps, like, just cut to fucking puppet Arnie.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, that's not Arnold.
They are doing their best to hide it, and the
absolutely.
transitions between the two are pretty smooth, but it's very funny. I found it very,
It's
like...
Oddly charming.
Kyle Reese literally says, oh, the old version Terminators had rubber skin, and you could pick them from a mile away.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
that sounds reminiscent of something.
yeah.
I don't know.
Just back at the beginning, the second note that I had was on-screen exposition.
Yes.
Written exposition. That shit pisses me off so goddamn much.
That is very rough.
I hate it.
I don't like it when Star Wars does it. This was like...
The credit roll thing, I hate it.
At least there's a bit of charm with Star Wars because it's like there's the music and the scroll and it's in space and
Yeah.
stuff. This is just like a tiny bit of action happens and then
and
they're
then
like...
block of text and then fucking opening credits. And I'm like, whoop-de-doo.
Apparently one of the the newer versions of the film takes the text out and I think it's spoken by someone.
Which is much better.
But the hardcore fans of the film were like, no, don't like it.
I'll fucking cry me a river.
There's like a lot of stuff with this where the other one is that because it's a tiny budget. What's the budget again?
I'll look it up.
6 mil, which you compare it.
6 mil. Ooh. 6.4 million.
Terminator 2 had... all right, I want you to try and guess Terminator 2's budget.
Terminator 2. When did it come out? 1991, didn't it?
It's a lot more.
Okay. Like 50 million.
$100 million.
Oh my god.
So comparatively, you're like...
Jesus. All right. Okay.
And that explains a lot of stuff. As an
Sure.
effect, the whole thing was recorded in mono, and then it got redubbed at some point for I believe the Blu-ray release.
For stereo.
In stereo.
Right.
And you know, once again, hardcore fans got really fucking snippy about that.
But there's so many goofy like Foley bits and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a bit towards the end where they're having that car chase where Arnie's on the bike and the truck flips, and they put in that Foley of Sarah Connor screaming twice back to back.
Oh, really? I didn't pick that.
It's the exact same sound effect of her going ah, and it's like ah in one shot, and then the truck flips, and then again she's like ah, and I'm like, what? You can't do that.
I guess I haven't really been looking for something like listening for something like that.
Oh god.
That's not something I expect when
But I do you watch these movies with headphones or without?
headphones, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, it's bleeding obvious in headphones.
Yeah.
It was so jarring for me. I was just like, wait a second.
This bloody sounds a bit familiar.
2 seconds later. Yeah, that bit got me. And just some of the other bits where like the sound seems incorrect with what is happening on screen. So the camera is far away from someone and they're running, but you hear them panting like like they're like right up alongside the microphone.
Yeah, right.
And the placing of the camera to where the character is and the sound, it didn't gel in my brain.
Right.
And those bits kind of stopped me from fully getting on board with a lot of the film.
I guess there's a lot of it that just seems very like a side effect of it being quite cheaply made.
Oh, for sure. Now that I know that, goddamn.
It was James Cameron's second film.
Yeah.
Besides that one short.
The fucking piranha.
And when you frame it like that, you're like, okay, that's like
That's
pretty
a
fucking good
fucking
job.
hardcore 180 on your career.
Yeah, he did it right for that. So yeah. Well, yeah, it's I just don't want to like be giving it you should assess a film for what it is, separate to like, they had a hard time making it. Like, I don't know how you kind of get your head around that.
This is such a hard movie.
If you had just like a student film or something that's like very high quality, but obviously it's going to be less quality than a full production, but you're still like, okay, well, they worked within their limitations and stuff. So
For sure.
Considering that, there's a lot of really, really cool stuff. It's just there's just a lot of stuff that's like, well,
The occasional little tidbit. Yeah.
Another kind of side effect of that low budget was the music.
Yes. Good old Brad Fiedel.
Which was...
Fidel?
Was Fidel. I don't know. The music was all made in front, like the dude just sat in front of the film with a bunch of synths and
just smashed it out.
just knocked it all out. And
Wow.
he didn't even have any assistants. So when he had to swap between different synths and like systems and stuff, he had to do it manually in the middle of the scene.
Jesus.
Which is like,
wow.
when you put it like that, you're like, shit, all right. And it's so weird because it is very goofy in some bits.
The bit where who is it, Reese, when he first arrives in the 1980s or whatever, and he's running from the cops.
Yeah.
And there's that weird discordant running theme that occasionally plays whenever the characters are running. It's odd, it's jarring, but for me, I wrote down the note, it's appropriate in how discordant and panicked and manic it feels.
Yeah.
Oddly enough.
And you just get like these really odd, like hyper synthy. It just screams 80s.
Yeah.
And from like a nostalgia point of view, you're like, oh shit, this is kind of fucking awesome. This is not the intention for it to be like this thing that like calls nostalgia, but that really got me from the start, especially with like the future scenes all have this kind of really
oppressive,
weird sci-fi music, which did kind of pull together. It was it's tough. It's just so tough.
That's
so
this whole
weird.
movie though.
Yeah. It's kind of consistent the whole way through.
Pros and cons.
I guess leading back to special effects, we've got our rubber head. We've got
Rubberani.
So we've got our like stop motion. I was just thinking like, if it's 84 and you're like, there's the scene with like the burning Terminator, and then the endoskeleton like gets up out of that, you'd be like, fuck.
Oh, sure.
that would blow your mind, surely.
Absolutely.
So I did find that kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it's got this charm to it, and it's almost like there's that effect with the original Alien film. Everyone says the best way to watch Alien is on VHS because it's just like a product of its time, I guess. It's this medium that is inherently just full of like artifacts and weird shit, and that just makes it
all the more a part of the experience.
More scary, I guess. Like like Black Darkness is not as scary as like the camera's like not making it out properly, so there could be anything in here.
Yeah.
That's and I feel like this kind of has a similar effect. It's the product of its time type deal.
For sure.
And you know, the prosthetics, they work a lot. Like the hand prosthetic works pretty fucking good, where he's like fucking with the pistons to like make his fingers move and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just their head.
Yeah.
Just their head is so fucking bizarre.
James Cameron also directed Aliens, didn't he? The plural, the second Alien.
Yes, Aliens 86.
86.
Oh wow, okay. Oh shit.
And that has what's his name? Kyle Reese in it as well. Who's the actor? Michael Biehn.
Michael Bayan.
Bean.
Bean.
Mr. Bean.
Bayan.
Yeah, it's got him in it too. So I get the feeling that Terminator, there's a lot of horror elements in Terminator.
Right.
And then it almost feels like James Cameron goes, oh, I can actually kind of do horror. And then he translates things that couldn't fit into Terminator and just whacks them into Aliens.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Fuck, I love Alien, man. Oh, I cannot wait till we get to those movies. It's going to be...
How soon is Alien?
Oh, so good. Not for a long time. It's number 50 or some shit.
Okay, fuck.
Half of this podcast series is just going to be us anticipating other movies that are coming up on the list. No, it's... it feels like there's little horror ideas that James Cameron adds into this and then goes, oh yeah, and then proceeds to toy with them further in his other films.
But he doesn't really have loads of work as like... How many of these are like horror films?
If we're talking like his current filmography?
Just like his whole thing. It's very weird.
His whole filmography. Well, I mean, we're going to be watching Avatar for the next fucking 15 years or whatever, so get ready to...
I, for one, am so excited.
Get ready to give all your money over to James Cameron.
Every 2 years we get a new fucking Avatar. Holy shit.
Snack me,
it's
man.
It's so fucking good. It's going to be so fucking good.
One was enough.
I don't even like Avatar that much, but we get 5.
Walk away with the money, you greedy bastard.
No, this is his creative baby,
Won
dude.
3 Oscars for that shit. Just fucking step away.
I didn't even realize he hadn't... Oh God, we're getting so
absolutely.
fucking lost. Sorry. The last one that he directed was Terminator 2.
The last Terminator he directed.
Yeah. He only wrote for 3. So I think he wrote most of the rest of them, but he didn't direct them.
Well, that probably explains why the franchise started heading downhill. Are there any other good Terminator movies in the franchise?
Apparently 3 is...
Okay.
Like, fine. 2 is obviously very good.
What's 3? That's Rise of the...
Rise of the Machines, yeah. I think it's a bit more schlocky.
Right.
But the thing that kind of sets this apart from a lot of films, not the thing, a thing, that I made note of, is that everything's very grounded. You watch, like, I mean, I haven't watched the films, but you watch clips from, like, you know, Dark Fate that came out pretty recently. It's just, like, stupid fucking, like, action shit, just insane, schlocky nonsense. Yeah. With, like, what's her name? Fucking Sarah's original actor, just, like, doing things that, like, she's, like, 60 now, isn't she?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. She was born in... Fuck, okay. She's, like, 70.
Oh, my God.
Oh, she's 65.
Okay.
Doing stuff like jumping off a shit, and it's like, no, that would just break your fucking legs.
Yeah, absolutely.
In real life. Whereas this is, like, really not that much crazy stuff happens. Like, the only source of really unrealistic shit is the Terminator.
For sure.
And you're kind of like, you know, you can kind of, like, that's fine with this kind of character. He's a massive robot dude. So I appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, it's a neat little blend of realism and sci-fi.
Yeah. It's grounded.
As you said.
That's the best one. That is what I said. Thanks for following along, Douglas.
I listen to you.
I appreciate it.
I contribute to conversation.
It makes the characters feel very real, and it lets you really get invested in the whole stakes of the situation, you know.
For sure.
There's, especially Kyle Reese, he's just a guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, he's just a soldier. He's got, like, a good tolerance to pain and stuff, but he's not super powered or anything. The only, you know, leg up he has on the Terminator is that he knows he's there. That's it. Besides that, he's got to try and kill this dude with
pipe bombs.
Yeah, old-timey weapons, basically.
Yeah.
It really, once again, amps up that kind of horror theme of it, where your characters don't have some out. They've got to be ingenious to kind of work their way through this.
To stop something that is quote-unquote indestructible, yeah.
I guess talking about action, this film actually did something else that I really liked, which is, you know, we have our horrendous exposition right at the start with the text scroll. just miserable. But during the film, when Kyle is explaining this world, he is doing it during action. So there's that first big escape scene where they're in the car and they're driving along and Kyle is explaining it, and it's still, you've kind of got two things working at the same time. It lets you absorb this, you know, still very interesting world building concept, and kind of place everything without just being people talking to each other. There's still, you know, fucking heartbeat action going all around you. And then he does the rest of the exposition while they're
when he's in the
parking
car,
garage.
yeah, and they're hiding from the cops, yeah, which still keeps that. Yeah, I was gonna say that still keeps that level of tension. Yeah,
I think that we need more not shitty exposition in
Yeah.
films. I thought that was really cool, and it's quite a smart way for him to run it, especially. Like, fuck, James Cameron, like, the exposition that happens in, like, Avatar is pretty fucking miserable.
Yeah.
It's just, like, man talking to camera or man talking to other man. It's nothing quite this exciting. So I gave that big props. I thought that was a very, very clever way that they kind of panned out.
Fuck, man, we're gonna become such assholes from doing this podcast.
We're already becoming film wankers.
Yeah, we're gonna be that one kid that did English studies for a semester and then be like, oh yeah, I reviewed Macbeth and said it was cool. Suck my dick.
It unfortunately kind of drops off again because they do have, I don't know, how did you feel about that scene where they're hiding in the, I think it's under a bridge. Or in
yeah. It kind of, a lot of people praise this film for its pacing. And for me, pacing is hit and miss. It starts off slow. It's a real slow burner when they're, you know, both coming back into the past and everything. And, Schwarzenegger sets right off on the hunt. You know, he's immediately after all the Sarah Connors and just going through the phone book and killing all of them to make sure.
I do love that. I do think that's
a cool concept. So cool. But I don't know, just actually getting right into the meat of it, it felt like it took its time. And then when you do get into something, there's that lapse. And I know it needs to have that because you need that moment for the audience to kind of chill out. But, yeah, I don't know.
It's maybe better suited as like a horror kind of pacing. Yeah. It's very much that opening bit is kind of placing yourself and just tension from. I love the phone book because it's the whole ticking time bomb thing.
Yeah, of he's gonna hit Sarah Connor eventually.
Such a weird, out there way. He's getting through all the Sarah Connors until the one we actually care about. Sorry, Sarah Connor 1 and 2, but not interested.
Imagine actually being called Sarah Connor when this movie came out. How fucking terrified would you be for like the next few years? You have your husband constantly going, I'll be back. And you're like, fuck you, Jeffrey. And you divorce him and get the kids.
Something else that kind of got me, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I normally despise sex scenes in film. I find them just uncomfortable and generally just unnecessary. They're like literally there just to be like, here's some titties to put on the screen or whatever. And you can do it well, but it's best when it's brief and hinted at instead of just showing you like I want just like the whole It's like very cliched, but I much prefer the whole thing where it's just like a hand sliding down like someone's rib cage, and then like some noises, and then you're like cut to black or like cut to the next day or something.
Right.
Like I much prefer that. For some reason, this one didn't do that to me. It's actually it's probably like a minute-long sex scene.
Yeah, you get to see her boobles.
You do get to see some boobs. That was very cool. I'm a
10
big
out of
fan
10.
of that.
Linda
10 out
Hamilton's
of 10.
boobs. Thanks for tuning in to the TwoFiveOh.
Change my mind. Full 100%. 5 out of 5. A+.
Linda Hamilton's boobs saved the film. Completely turned off until then.
The music during that was probably one of the better tracks in the film.
It's so 80s. Like the note that I wrote down was that it's just the biggest 80s romance scene. Biggies.
Yeah.
It's just so everything about it screams 80s. All of the cuts,
was that
all of the fades.
Was that the second where you were just like, like how soon before that did you work out
that they were going to boink? Fucking
John Connor's
like
dad?
as soon as they were sitting under the bridge, and he had when she was waking up and she was like laying on his lap and shit. I was like, okay, he's the dad. Like fucking cool. When are you gonna boink? Put the pee in her, make John.
Jesus Christ.
God, I'm like at a 10 right now, and I need to dial it back to like a 5. What is wrong with me?
That was I don't know. It didn't feel as egregious as they normally do. Maybe it's just because there was no moaning. Maybe that's what normally puts me off. I don't know. I like that.
It was tasteful.
Or at least it was tasteful. That's the best way to put it. It didn't put me off, and they normally do. Like 90% of the time, I'm like, it's like our extended fight scene conversation. I'm like, get to the point.
Yeah,
I understand the theme. I understand the theme you're pushing here. They love each other. Get it.
That's a big thing, isn't it? You like fight scenes.
Let's do something else.
Fight scenes that have meaning.
I just let's further the characters or the
For
plot.
sure. You don't like things that are nonsensical.
Let's not linger too far. There are places I can go if I want to look at titties, okay? Like,
the world's a big place. Not in 1984.
That's a very good point.
You want to look at some boobles? You go, Mum, can I have $5 to go see the Terminator again?
Well, actually, this film was fucking R when it was released. So,
yeah.
Which I guess I can kind of get with the whole dude cutting his own eyeball out situation.
Yeah.
That's a little off-putting for, you're
and cutting open his arm and
you're 12, you're coming back from bloody school and you're like, I'm going to go watch a cool action film with my dad. And then this dude's like, I'm just going to cut my eyeball out. Is that right? Yeah.
And then you're like, Dad, I'm going to do what the Terminator did. And he's got like the butter knife and Dad's like, no, Dad!
There's some stuff that was done. It's the pacing is an issue. I think potentially the pacing is like one of the things that kind of killed it the most for me.
Yeah,
but on one hand, it's like partly, very clearly, this was James Cameron's like first real film, and that's stuff that you kind of just get better at with time, optimistically. And it's also partly you can kind of see where he was going with that. It's like this is sort of a horror film, and you've got to let this stuff breathe at the start so you can really build the tension up. Because I think if you push to the bits where it's all action scenes and stuff, I feel like I don't know if it would be better or worse, but it would definitely it would feel very different.
Odd, yeah.
It would just feel like a normal sci-fi like action, and there might not be the same stakes if you don't really give it that first half hour to really amp up. Get you in that frightened mood, the tension mood. I don't know.
Yeah. Just across the board for me, a lot of the acting felt a bit wooden at times as well.
Right. What was this?
Just delivery of lines.
Was this Arnie?
No, not Arnie. I mean, like, Arnie, completely fair cop. He's a fucking robot. So, like, of course his line delivery is going to be monotonous.
Robotic. I saw what he was doing, but I didn't like that bit near the end where they're in the factory and Sarah's like, get on your feet, soldier. And I'm like, no. I see what you're trying to do, James. It's not working. That is
not buying it, baby.
And there's that whole, I think it's once again just kind of a side effect of this being an early film of his, where he's trying to push this concept that like she's just a normal lady, and throughout the events of the film, it transitions her into a hardened,
fucking being a badass by the end of the film with a dog and everything.
And that's how you really know you're
a cool guy. You got the dog.
You're a cool guy. You got the dog and the fucking aviators and the short haircut.
The Jeep.
The Jeep. That last bit was pretty fucking cringy. I don't know.
It was low key kind of metal, but then also cringy.
Yeah, the epilogue is
time.
like, you're trying too hard right now. Where he's like, he says there's a storm coming, and she's like, I know, and I'm like,
I know.
You're going so well. You're doing so well. I did like it how he took the photo, and then the photo was the Polaroid that Kyle has.
Sure.
I thought that was quite cute.
Yeah.
And it explains why it's like this beat up Polaroid. That's kind of a fun loop back. I thought that was pretty nice. But it feels like it was sequel bait, actually.
For sure.
Which is not normally something you see in a second real...
A B-grade film.
Yeah. A fucking $6 million, like... this dude's first major production,
proper Hollywood film, quote unquote. The bit, I mean, obviously we can't talk about Terminator without talking about I'll Be Back. I didn't realize that line had so much comedic weight to it.
Let's talk about the comedy, because
for sure
there's some stuff that is highly unintentionally hilarious,
incredibly funny. Yeah,
I'm just gonna skim my notebook. You keep saying what you're saying because I've got a bunch of this.
Just the way he comes in with the fucking sunnies, he's rip as fuck, and he's looking the thing up and down. And he's like, I need to speak to Sarah Connor, and doing all that shit. And then he looks the place up and down, and he's like, I'll be back. I was like, oh.
Because that is the line that you know even if you don't know the film.
Exactly, yeah. Pretty much everyone knows that line, and Arnie's I'll be back. But I never knew the context of what it sat in. So then when I saw that, and then him just fucking come careering through the front door in the fucking car, I was like, hell yeah, now I get why everyone likes this line.
There's the bit where they're at the precinct, and one of the police officers says to the head, he's like, how do I look? And he goes, like shit, boss. And he goes, your mama. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And there's lots of weird little bits like that where he's like, those two cops again, and he's like, I need a cigarette, and he's already got a cigarette in his hand, and then he gets a cigarette pack, and he looks at it, and he's like, oh, and he puts it down and just goes back to smoking his cigarette, and I'm like, was that a mismatch in props? Like, what happened?
Oh, it's your opening, the overlay where he's in the apartment.
Yeah.
And he's just, what are the options that he has for his response?
Oh, the possible response. Yes. It's what is it? It's yes, no, please come back later. Fuck you, asshole. Just fuck you, asshole.
It's a fucking weird. The bit when they're in the future and there's the kids just watching the TV, and you're like, huh, what's up with that? And then the TV's like busted out.
Cuts
and
to it being on fire.
It's just fire in it. I'm like, that's not being as smart as you thought you were.
Oh, man. And the machine, Ginger's machine. Yes. You know, her voicemail. How she's like, hi there, haha, funny joke.
No, but she goes, you're talking to a machine. She goes, you're talking to a machine, and the fucking Terminator is like looking at it. I was like, I really saw what you did there, mate.
Yeah. And then it's like, machines need love too. Yeah. And I'm like, I see. Very good, James. Well done.
Very clever, James.
It's Mr. Cameron.
It's so weird.
Pugsley, what a cool idea to have your main character have like a fucking iguana chameleon motherfucker as their pet.
Yeah.
I love that shit. That's metal as hell.
They're just like, she's a bit of a weird lady. Check it out. Check out how kooky she is.
She's got a lizard called Pugsley.
She's got a Pugsley lizard. I do like Pugsley as a lizard name.
It's a good name for a lizard.
Name.
But he's only in it like for the first act, and then Ginger dies and you never see the fucking thing again.
Yeah.
What? She just leaves Pugsley. Who's feeding Pugsley?
She's
Pugsley's dead.
That's nerd. Sarah has a chameleon.
Pugsley's
cool
dead.
Sarah has a dog.
Oh my god, she totally replaces Pugsley with the dog.
Oh, the other thing. This is skipping away, but I just remembered. The bit with that's the thing. With the special effects and the endoskeleton Terminator, there's only a few spots where they use the full shot, and that's where has like a full body, and they've stop motioned it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it, they use like puppets and stuff, and that actually works really well. Apparently,
it was an actual metal puppet.
Yeah.
Like it was full on fucking all made of metal,
which is kind of slick. It really I think watching it in 2020, you do get taken a little bit out when they're like running away and closing the door, and this thing is like bumping along at 8 frames a second. But almost completely after that, it's just this puppet because
fucking solid,
yeah, because they can either obscure the legs or they can obscure the torso, and they just use one or the other. That worked a lot better because that is that final shot where
he's getting crushed. Yeah,
that's like a real like puppet with its robot hand around her neck. That's pretty fucking nutso.
Also, metal as fuck action line that Sarah Connor gets at the end there. You're a Terminator, fucker. Love it. So good.
You see, she's a hardened soldier now.
Yeah. From one run-in with Mr. Metal Man, she's fucking gone mental and just gone, you know what? Fuck it. Also, I did, sawed-off shotgun, right? Like, having a sawed-off shotty.
Yep.
I'm probably, this is going to be the dumbest thing that I've ever said on a recording.
You said some dumb stuff.
True. But I didn't realize that they literally saw off the bit that, you put your shoulder up against. They saw that off.
Yeah.
Like, actually saw it off.
Yeah, that's why it's cool.
And that's what a sawed-off shotty is. I thought they just made them so that they had less...
They do make them without
part
stocks.
of the gun called? Stock, that's it.
But
they have it, with less stock, so then it's just called a sawed-off shotty, like it looks like it's been sawed off.
Yeah, it's just sawed off because then the majority of shotguns are like hunting shotguns that have a full stock on them.
Full stock, right. Yeah. So, yeah, odd.
Just interesting.
It was cool to see him actually saw the stock off.
Yeah,
and I was like, wow.
Kyle in that bit of the film is just like so... my man is just... stressing.
He's hustling.
He's doing whatever he can to get by. That was pretty fun. I like that bit. Kyle is like a very good character. His acting is not amazing all the time.
Crash hot.
But he's pretty convincing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have any trivia, Douglas?
I absolutely have some trivia for you, Jonathan.
Trivia, please.
This is one that I included just because I found it interesting. Arnold Schwarzenegger worked with guns every day for a month to prepare for the role. The first 2 weeks of filming, he practiced weapons stripping and reassembly blindfolded until the motions were automatic, like a machine. He spent hours at the shooting range and practiced with different weapons without blinking or looking at them when reloading or cocking. He also had to be ambidextrous because there's a bit where he's in the police station and he's firing the assault rifle in one hand and the shotgun in the other.
Oh, yeah.
He practiced different moves up to 50 times. He wound up garnering a compliment in Soldier of Fortune magazine for his realistic handling of the guns on camera. Whereas the magazine usually lampoons movies for their inaccurate depictions of weapons use. Now, having read that quote and then talking about the bit that I just talked about, the bit where he's holding like a fucking semi-automatic shotgun in one hand, fires that and gets zero recoil out of it.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Realistic handling.
Well, he's a robot.
Sure.
It's not about how they're talking about like how you use the gun, how you operate the gun,
sure.
Not about.
Oh yeah, but they were totally like almost John Wick bits where he clicks a safety off and shit. And it is. He's pretty realistic. He does a good job. Shows
within
the,
within the framework of the film where he is a 2-ton robot skeleton.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, okay,
it makes sense.
That makes sense. It would have put me off if he was like struggling under the recoil of the guns that he's firing.
True, actually, yeah. Now that you say that, you know what? I take it back. You know what? Fair point, Jonathan. I'll just go. Next trivia. The beginning of production was postponed for 9 months due to Arnold Schwarzenegger's commitment to Conan the Destroyer, which is, I believe you touched on that earlier in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
During this time, James Cameron wanted to be working, but didn't have the time to do a whole other film. He had a talk with some producers at 20th Century Fox who liked his screenplay for Terminator and gave him a writing assignment. This turned out to be Aliens in 1986.
Oh, okay.
On the same day, he was also asked to write a script for Rambo: First Blood Part 2.
Which he did.
While
didn't he?
handling... Yes, he did. While handling these 2 assignments, he also did additional work for his Terminator screenplay, writing each script at night at a different desk in order to keep the projects apart.
Jeez.
He calculated how many pages he had to write each night by dividing the total number of pages by the number of waking hours per night.
Oh, my lord.
He said that he accomplished that by drinking lots of coffee, a habit that he finally kicked after completing Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Wow.
So, fucking say what you will about James Cameron, but man, did he hustle.
He's so weird. It's so
Yeah,
weird.
kooky guy.
Because you say what you will about James Cameron, but he has some of the highest grossing films of all time. He did
Fucking Titanic.
Avatar and Titanic.
Yeah.
Like
Which took like fucking 2 decades to get knocked over.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. And they had to do like 30 films in a row to
Other
actually,
films in order to, get that many people on board. Yeah. Fucking... And both of those films are individual films. They're not a franchise. Well, Avatar is about to be a franchise, but, whatever.
I'm so excited.
Touch the
It's so
subject.
fucking stupid. Did you know that O.J. Simpson was up for the role as the Terminator, but didn't make it because no one could buy him as a cold-blooded killer?
Oh my god.
And there's a lot of, in terms of the actors they selected, there was a lot of bouncing around. Arnold was originally trying for the position of Kyle Reese.
Oh.
But he had so many... I forgot to write down what the film was. Hey guys, future editing Jonathan here. The part that Arnie was talking about with James Cameron as the kind of inspiration for the Terminator character is Yul Brynner's gunslinger from the 1973 Westworld. Arnie had a lot to say about the character's just purely machine-like movements, where it's never looking down, it's not flinching at hurting itself if it's necessary, and the way that it uses guns and stuff. So that's the reference there. Back to the show. There's so many, he had a lot of notes basically for James Cameron for this is how you should make this imposing horror robot guy.
Right.
But James Cameron was like, this dude knows how this character should be done so well. We should just cast him instead. Which meant they kind of had to change the feel of the film a little bit, because Lance Henriksen, who is the second in command police officer, was originally supposed to be the Terminator.
Oh.
So the concept would be that he was someone who would fit into the background really well, just a normal looking guy, just as an assassin. But they kind of swapped it around. It worked out, obviously.
Wow. Yeah.
And that meant that they could have Kyle Reese be this very, like I mentioned before, just a normal dude, just a normal looking soldier guy, which I think if Arnold was the kind of main character, I think it would have detracted a little bit. It would have, that balance of stakes where this unstoppable force against your 2 quote unquote normal people. If Arnold was one of those 2 normal people, you might not buy it.
Yeah.
And putting him as the unstoppable force with a diamond shaped torso works a lot better in my opinion.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I can concur with that.
I did a bunch of reading on the Internet Movie Firearm Database.
Yep.
The gun with the iconic pistol with the laser pointer on it, because back in 84, those actually required quite a lot of power. They have a fat fucking battery pack. And it looks like this really slick thing, but there's this battery pack the size of a Coke can.
Jesus.
That they had to run up Arnold's sleeve, and then when he wanted to turn the laser sight on, there was a little button in his other hand.
Wow.
So whenever he's pointing this thing, his hand is down, hiding this little push button.
Oh, clever.
Yeah. And my final bit of trivia, I've kind of overridden your trivia section. Sorry.
No, go for it.
My final bit of trivia is that Kyle Reese's appearance in the future, as a future soldier, inspired the aesthetic of Solid Snake from the first Metal Gear and the cover art.
Hey.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Sorry, did you have more trivia?
Damn, Kojima. I did.
Go
but
for it.
No, I didn't know any of that, so that's really cool. Wow, Kojima took a lot of inspiration from films.
He's a little inspiration boy, that Kojima.
Yeah, is he? I think there was talk about him doing more film-oriented stuff, wasn't there?
It wouldn't surprise me, given his connections.
Because his games are already so cinematic anyway, and he's got such a good tie within the film industry.
I'll bet this makes so much sense to people who haven't.
Absolutely, people that
Played
don't
Metal Gear.
who know who Kojima is. Moving on. In James Cameron's original treatment, Sarah Connor has an old figure skating injury that was fixed with a couple of surgical pins, and the Terminator cut the legs open of the first two Sarah Connors to try and find this identifying mark. In the novelization of the story, the pins were instead inserted into her leg after it was broken during her final fight against the Terminator. Skynet knew Sarah had surgical pins in her leg, but not when or why she got them. The Terminator was therefore looking for a sign of an injury she had not yet sustained.
Huh.
Which is fucking... I like that idea. That sounds metal as hell, and I wish they did that.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That would have been cool. But then you would have had to have Terminator cutting up people's legs.
Yeah.
Which would have just cemented the film even more R-rated.
Yeah. Bit gross.
In the film, the name of the nightclub where the Terminator first targets Sarah is named Tech Noir, after a film genre which James Cameron coined himself in describing what category this film falls under, after dismissing the notions that it was a mere horror or slasher film.
Nice.
Tech noir films like Blade Runner and this film combine the old-style grittiness of noir films with the futuristic elements of a sci-fi thriller. Cameron himself had the club built specifically for the film and had to turn away local club-goers who thought Tech Noir was a real nightclub.
I would totally go there. It looks so cool.
The building still exists, but it's now a jewelry store.
Come on. I'm going to look it up on Google Maps right now.
The puppet of Arnold Schwarzenegger's face took 6 months to create.
Wow.
That's a lot of time for something that looks as bad as it does. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, once again, product of its time type situation.
Absolutely. Arnold Schwarzenegger's iconic catchphrase almost became, "I will be back," because he thought it sounded more machine-like without a contraction. He also felt "I'll" sounded too feminine. It was the one major disagreement between Schwarzenegger and James Cameron, and all Cameron had to say that was, quote, "I don't tell you how to act, so don't tell me how to write," unquote.
Yeah, okay.
Damn, Cameron. Shit, smack them actors down. Kubrick those motherfuckers. The Terminator endoskeleton was very heavy and hard for Stan Winston's team to carry, and they found out that building a prop robot out of metal is realistic, but not very practical.
Yeah, I'd imagine. That thing looks heavy as fuck.
Heavy as balls, yeah. Stan Winston, for reference, is the special effects guy who worked on Terminator 1 and 2. He worked on Jurassic Park, Aliens,
Wow.
Iron Man. I believe he did some stuff for Avatar as well. Yeah, he's big special effects guy, basically. And I know he also did Phantom of the Opera, the TV movie Phantom of the Opera.
Does it have lots of special effects in it?
Just makeup special effects, basically.
Okay.
So like the Phantom's fucked up face, I would assume.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, I haven't watched the Phantom of the Opera, and it had literally never occurred to me up to this point that he had a fucked up face. I thought he just wore a mask because it was cool.
Because that's just how he rolled.
I don't know.
Oh, God. Well, we might need to wear a mask when we go out because we're fucking radio stars.
Hey.
I was going to try and make a nice segue into the socials, but it didn't work as efficiently as I wanted it to.
No, cut it. Try again.
But no, it's not even a good segue.
So we've got a bunch of social media. I actually spent a bunch of time this week working on our social media. So hopefully it's a bit more cleaned up. Gonna try be a bit more fucking consistent on it. We have YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all on TwoFiveOh Pod, TWO FIVEOHPOD, all one word. That's also our email if you want to go there, 250pod@gmail.com.
If you want to send me some hate mail about what
That terrible
we think
segue.
of Terminator, and that segue.
Yep. We're currently on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Pocket Cast, Google Home, Amazon Echo. We just got on Deezer as well.
Oh, shit.
So yeah, we're really coming up in the world.
We're branching out.
Yep. Still not on Podbean because I still can't be fucked working that out.
You've said that for like the last 3 podcasts. We're like, okay, Podbean, it's coming. And then
Every time I do like organizational stuff, I like look at the Podbean website again, and it's just like, no, I can't be
you
fucked.
just get upset. And you can find us on Letterboxd. Letterboxd is a website for putting down film reviews, basically just documenting what films you watch, when and where. Well, not where, but when.
You could put down where. This is the description section.
Is there?
Yeah, this is, yeah.
Oh, there you go. But you can find some more elaborated written reviews from me on Letterboxd, where you can find them at IENZOKNIGHT. That's Ienzo Knight with a K. Is my Letterboxd profile. And Jonathan, your profile is?
Mine is Upa. That is UUU. PAH, that's 3 U's all in a row. I do haikus because I think I'm clever.
It's actually pretty cool. I like it.
Thanks, man.
Still, I said this last time, but my favorite one is still your Casino Royale one.
I'm still
God,
so
I
cut
love
about
that
Casino
shit.
Royale, man.
You are, yeah.
I gotta look for. I might just like look at Daniel Craig films, and then I can try and trick my brain into thinking that like it's kind of like the whole like the Leo continuity between Titanic and Inception, and I think that other one. Oh, Great Gatsby.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're just like, people are like, oh,
He gets washed up on the shore.
yeah, so he survives the Titanic, and then he is like a wealthy, like a person who came into a lot of wealth and no one knows how, but is like scared of pools and shit like that.
Yeah.
That's
Scared of pools.
I think. Well, I mean, he does die in one, so.
Yeah, in Gatsby. Yeah, spoiler alert for Gatsby.
Oh, hey. He doesn't die
Whoops.
in Inception, though, does he? So does that before or after?
Even more spoilers. Whoops.
He does. Okay. We say this every time. This is the show where we spoil other films for
Other
you.
movies. Correctamundo,
You're
baby.
welcome. Well, it's the spoiler alert isn't for the film that we're currently talking about. It's for every
Yeah,
film.
it's all film.
Yeah.
You can find all of the links that we just talked about at Linktree. Would you like to talk about Linktree, Jonathan?
Oh, I mean, it's just like if you've been on anyone's like big Insta profiles, it's just what they use because you can put all your social media in one place. So just go to our Instagram for that. Honestly, you could go to linktr.ee/250pod if you're so inclined, but just go to the Insta. We fucking talk about all these socials. Just go to the fucking Insta. That's the key spot where we put everything up, and you know, if you want to listen to the podcast on YouTube, then you can also do that. But whatever. Actually, you know what? Live your life. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Don't let me
We're not going to tell you
that.
how to. We're not going to tell you how to do your thing.
God no.
Do your day.
No.
Pet your cat.
How are you going to do your day?
I'm going to do my day dirty.
Oh.
I haven't showered today.
Oh, that's bloody raunchy over here. Stinky little fella.
Stinky boy. God, I am I'm firing off all cylinders this episode. I don't know what's happening. I've been looking at the waveform and it's just progressively just loud. And I want to apologize for this podcast. And I promise that the next one, I believe it's Butch Cassidy, yeah?
I believe so.
Gonna double check that real quick. It is Butch Cassidy. I'm gonna be much more mellow for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, I promise. I don't know why. I am just very
I like the
oddly
energy. The energy is
amped.
nice.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
this is what the normalizer effect is for, Douglas.
That's true. Yeah. Just bring me out to a nice mellow.
Clean you right down to a -1 decibel, and everything's golden. Everything's good.
So I sound like I'm in a can rather
Exactly.
than how I sound right now.
That's not normalizer isn't that bad. Come on, man.
Yeah, normalizer, that's good.
Well, you're probably fine because you once again have a like legitimate fucking audio interface, and I just got
Proper,
USB mic.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I'm peeking all over the shop.
Put out them big bucks.
Mm.
Well, thank you for tuning into the 250.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you real soon.
See you next time. I don't have any like dumb rambly shit to do this time.
Yeah, we don't
It
have
feels
any.
kind of
Well, I don't know. It's nice to just send them off on their way.
just a normal.
We don't have to ramble into their ears all the time.
Yeah,
We just rambled into their ears for like an hour.
we did. You know what? Let's not overdo it.
Okay. End it now.
I love
Stop
you.
it.
I love
Stop
you.
it. Cut it.
I